Welcome back to our Guillotine League, week 8. It's coming out a day late. I've been battling a bad cold all week. The quarter just ended. A lot of work to do, but fantasy football is more fun than all of that. Last week, we saw a new high score. This is actually our second highest score of all time, just going back a year. And we had a crazy Monday Night Football race between Johnny, Brian, Jay, Landon a little bit, and Johnny leaves us. But yeah, the new high score, or I guess new high score this year is 183.48. Last year in week 14, Johnny scored 186.68. So about 3 points higher than that. That just goes to show, even in the weeks, when we get to week 16 and there's just a couple teams left, this score might not happen again for the year. It was a perfect storm of events. Even with my quarterback just getting 5.5 points, everyone went off. Johnny, on the flip side, had a crazy close ending. One of our closest of the year, second only to when Chris gets chopped back in week 4. And his team had a lot of just kind of middling performers. Whittington sounded like a good idea, but Devontae Adams caught all the touchdowns. Kamara has been looking really bad. ETN, that run defense was great. Goff, second week in a row, where he kind of puts up a decent dud here. Ertz was great. He was fine. Sutton was good, and then Rice was fantastic. What's crazy is this could have been worse. I thought Rice was going to be a full go since he wasn't coming back from injury, but he only ran 16 routes. He was targeted on 10 of those. So when he was out there and running a route, they were looking for him. They wanted to get him involved clearly on that first drive, but it could have been much worse for Johnny if Rice, doesn't see 10 targets on 16 routes. And that game was just a disaster. That's why Brian was so close to getting chopped. Is Brian had, I think, 2/3 of the Raiders' offense, but the issue was that the Raiders had about 100 yards of offense in the entire game. Our fab is quickly descending. We have 4,000 left. Brian has 17%. He's got the top at 710. Kind of the top 4 have most of the fab. So Brian, Jay, myself, and Reagan have a lot of fab, whereas the rest of the league does not. The only trade of the week was Mason trades 225 for Nick Chubb from Reagan. Kind of seems wild to me because Chubb, maybe he's the 1A to Woody Marks being 1B. The Texans' offense is awful, and 225 is the price of Waddle, A.J. Brown on waivers this week. Sutton just went for 125. So the further we get in the year, 225 buys you a lot more. Should buy you a lot more than Nick Chubb, but here we are. Well, this is the buy-mageddon. Someone is probably going to get chopped this week because they have a good player on buy. And we got 6 teams, a ton of just really good players. I'm not even going to read them all. Probably the biggest ones are JSN, Puka Nacua, Gibbs, McBride. Those are probably the biggest. Kyron has been good, and St. Brown. But yeah, everyone has buys. Everyone's benches is filled just with buys and injured players. So much so that Daniel Jones got dropped, and a couple of us didn't even realize it. Reagan, nice pickup. We added 3 Grim Reapers this week. Matthew Golden, Rashid Shaheed, and Jared Goff. Goff getting chopped back-to-back weeks. Golden and Shaheed were chopped back in week 2. And here we go with Johnny in week 7. So there's now 6 players that have been chopped twice. I don't envision Golden and Shaheed getting chopped again because I don't think they'll get started. Actually, maybe Fleming starting Shaheed, but he'll be safe this week. So I think they will not continue to be Grim Reapers. I guess this week more people are going to be started because of all the buys. So going in our score order here, myself, I normally I do a little bit more prep here, but I'm doing this off the fly, so we'll see how this goes. I have Devontae Adams and McBride on buys. Filling in for me are Romeo Dobbs and Zach Ertz. I don't love Ertz. I think I'll still be fine to get through. I really wish I saw Daniel Jones get dropped because I would love to not start Caleb Williams again. I think he's got a great matchup this week against Baltimore. And then he has Cincinnati and then the Giants. So I think the next few weeks are great Chicago Bears games. But we'll see. I don't love Jalen Warren's matchup this week. I think that's where he had a great matchup last week. He excelled in it. They play the Packers. I could see that as a low-scoring game, and we'll see how that plays out. Bailey, of course, I said he was going to go home last week, and he was the second best scorer. Last week, Bailey was struggling because of buys and injuries. This week, his team looks good. He should be getting Lamar back. He gets Derrick Henry back. We've already seen Rondé Gadsden play last night and do great. I mean, that's a big reason why he was the second highest scorer last week. He probably gets McLaurin back as well. He has St. Brown on bye and ETN on bye, but he's got pretty good matchups. I think Ferguson has a great game against Denver. I think overall the Cowboys struggle on offense, or at least struggle comparatively to where they've been. But I think Ferguson has a big game for him. Kevin's team. Kevin had a great week last week, even with Baker Mayfield really struggling on Monday night. Stevenson played really well this week. Again, he's starting Cole Kmet. He has on buys. He has Stafford, Blake Corum, who probably should be dropped, Jahmyr Gibbs, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Sam Laporta. If I'm Kevin, I drop Cole Kmet for literally anybody because he might not even play, and they've been circling Colson Loveland in a little bit more. But he definitely has the players to survive. He's going to be in danger this week just with all those buys. J.K. Dobbins has a pretty good matchup against Dallas, and DK Metcalf, you never know, is up and down. Tyler Warren is great. I do think Cam Scatterbo is in a bad spot against Philly. I think Philly's going to come back with a vengeance this game because they've playing twice in 3 weeks is kind of crazy, but I don't think Philly wants to look as bad as they did a couple weeks ago. Caleb's team, he's another one in the danger zone. I mean, we see a lot of yellow here. At the beginning of the season, a lot of yellow was good because there were 18 teams. Well, now there are 12. And so yellow is not great. Drake May has a bad matchup against Cleveland. Kamara and ironically, Ladd was one of the worst wide receiver ones. He had a great game last night. So Caleb's already feeling at least a little bit better. Hawkinson was not great. I love Tez Johnson this week. He has Kyren Williams and Kenneth Walker and Travis Hunter and JMO on bye. He's benching Leggett, which I think is a great move. I think Leggett had a great game last week because he was playing against the Jets. We'll get into more of why he had a great week last week. Fleming's team, Fleming had a down week last week, scoring the 5th most points. Josh Allen comes off a bye. This week he's got Monty and JSN on bye. He should be getting Debo back from injury. I think Rome Odunze plays a lot better. George Kittle was out there throwing blocks but not catching any passes. And he already has Kamani Vidal, who had a fantastic game. So Fleming's going to be clearly safe this week. Next, we've got Reagan. Our Saunders are back-to-back here. He made the great move of picking up Daniel Jones. CMC has been just fantastic. And I think other than that, I don't necessarily love Reagan's team. Tucker Kraft, he's good, but he's a little bit up and down. I think he probably has a good week this week, but Kendrick Bourne, he's not a good wide receiver anymore now that the 49ers are getting healthy. Coleman is so up and down. Kincaid is up and down. Kayshon Boutte is up and down. There's certainly a world where Reagan and a lot of his fab gets chopped this week. Isaiah, he's in the danger zone right now, according to our Chopped. That's because Jordan Mason got him 1.1 points. He's starting Joe Flacco in this QB carousel, and he has hopefully Emeka Ibuka, who's going to be healthy this week. He's got Trevor Lawrence, Brian Thomas Jr., A.J. Barner, and Brock Bowers on bye this week. And he's got Bucky Irving out. So Isaiah is one that he's like, he just wants to get through this by McGinnon, hoping that someone scores fewer points than him. He'll be in real trouble if Nico Collins is ruled out. It looks like he's going to. So right now he's going to have to, he'll have to slide someone into the injured reserve and pick up somebody. And so Isaiah is definitely in the danger zone this week. Mason, he had, so A.J. Brown was great, and ironically was great on Johnny's bench. I'm sure he's kicking himself for that. But Mason gets A.J. Brown and Jalen Waddle this week. He spends a good chunk of fab. He's starting T. Higgins, who I think is going to be fantastic. He has Bo Nix, who was amazing last week and has a great matchup this week. He's the one, I think, who dropped Daniel Jones because he has just all these awesome quarterbacks. He's got Garrett Wilson, who's probably hurt, but his buys it's only Zach Charbonnet. So Mason is looking, he's looking pretty good this week. Saquon has got to get going. If he can't get going this week against the Giants, I don't know what they do. Next, we have Landon. Landon's team is, it's pretty solid. Dak is lower this week. He's playing one of the best defenses out there in the Denver Broncos, and he's doubled up there where he also has Javonte Williams. So if that game gets ugly, that could be tough for him. But he gets Rashid Rice, who's going to have a fantastic game. The Commanders, I'm worried that this is just going to get ugly quick. So he's got Rice and Kelsey going Monday night. And he might be in the danger zone until then because those are going to be some of his top scorers. But it looks like Rico Dowdle he's going to be a part of this offense the rest of the year. He looked amazing when Chuba Hubbard was out, and he has a firm grasp on the depth chart. He got 17 carries last week for 79 yards, caught a couple passes as well, or at least it was targeted twice. He only caught one pass. So he's going to be a good flex for the next little bit. And if there's any week that R.J. Harvey is going to get going, it has to be this week. It looks like Fantasy Pros is thinking he should start Mark Andrews. Right now, he's starting R.J. Harvey, and that could be a great option because they're playing the Cowboys. If Harvey can't get going against the Cowboys, he probably needs to be dropped in this type of league. He has Puka Nacua on a bye, also Jacoby Myers on a bye as well. He picked up Matthew Golden, but is not starting him, so it looks like Golden and Rashid are not going to be chopped because they're not in starting lineups. Jay's team, Jay continues to just kind of squeak by. He was not projected to be on the block, according to Sleeper, but now he is because Quentin Johnson put up nothing last night. He had a bad game. He played, for whatever reason, 52% of the snaps. I've not looked into it about if there's an injury or maybe with Aronde Gadsden coming on, someone is getting fewer targets, and looks like it's him. Jennings has a really tough matchup. Pacheco, though, I think Pacheco, this is going to be his best game of the season. Before this week, his highest total is 11.9. He hasn't rushed for more than 57 yards. I think he breaks both of those. I think he's going to score more than 11.9. I think he's going to rush for more than 57 yards. The Commanders' defense can't tackle. They've been really bad recently. And with Mariota playing instead of Jaden Daniels, even though if we get Debo and Terry back, it's not going to be the same high-powered offense. So there's going to be a lot of running, and I think the Chiefs are really going to handle business on Monday night. Breece Hall's got a great matchup against Cincinnati. I think if you're Jay, you're just really hoping Breece gets traded somewhere. You want him to play this week against Cincy and then hope he gets shipped out. And Rachaad White is looking like one of the best draft picks because this Bucky injury is getting weird. They ruled him out immediately. There's a lot of chatter of maybe he comes back after the bye, but there's no guarantees. Jay also has he has a tight end on bye, but it's a backup tight end for the Jaguars. So I think he'll get dropped eventually, and I think Alec Pierce is actually a really strong like last flex. I think he could have a really good game because they're playing the Titans, and the Colts are going to score at will. So you might get a long touchdown for Pierce. Brian's team got incredibly close to being chopped. He starts Justin Fields back-to-back weeks and gets back-to-back bad Fields weeks. I think ironically, I hate Dart's matchup. I think he's going to struggle this week. Sorry, Brian. But Swift is awesome. I think he's going to be really, really solid. He already has 10 points out of Addison, which is huge. Worthy, I think if he doesn't get going in the first quarter, I think Worthy might not actually be a great play because I think, I would not be surprised if the Commanders are down 17-0 in the first quarter. This is an away game. It's outside in a crazy environment. So if Worthy doesn't get going in the first quarter, it might not be great, but Shank should be fine because Pittman plays Tennessee, Sutton plays Dallas. Those are great matchups. I think Kyle Pitts is going to be a huge game for Kyle Pitts. I think this is going to be one of his best games. He scores 18 points against Washington, but I think he's going to be right up there. I think he's going to get a ton of catches. Instead of a Drake London game, this is going to be a Kyle Pitts game against Miami. Our rankings are a little skewed because this sleeper is after last night's game. So you see Jay is ranked 4th in Fantasy Pros, but last in sleeper. That's because sleeper obviously knows that Quentin Johnson got 0 points, and Fantasy Pros still has Quentin Johnson ranked as a good wide receiver. So it's a little skewed, but we have more accurate data right now. Fleming and myself are up there at the top. Landon, Brian. Brian is working his way from right to left. His team is getting much better. Looks like Caleb, Kevin, Jay, Mason are all kind of in trouble in Isaiah. So that right 5 are definitely in more trouble than the left ones. Last week, I feel like it was a pretty good week. ETN and Kendrick Bourne just put up mediocre to dud games. Waller gets injured, so it's hard to take credit for that. JSN had a fantastic game. He's just amazing. Jalen Warren, Javonte, and Quinshon Judkins were all top 10 running backs. Sutton was pretty good, and I chose the wrong backup Washington running back. Rodriguez found the end zone. McNichols, 5.5 points is pretty good. Rodriguez, I think, only had like 6 point something because I think he might have only had 1 or 2 rushes. It just happened to get in the end zone. This week, I think Ramondre is going to struggle this week. He's playing the Browns. It's kind of your classic, who's playing against the Browns. Pickens is so I heard this stat earlier this week that there's different home field and away advantages, and that's because the Cowboys play indoor on a certain type of grass, and the Broncos are outdoor on apparently a different type of grass. I don't know all that goes into it, but one of the guys I listened to is saying that this is as different a playing surface and atmosphere as you can get going from Dallas to Denver. Part of it's also not only are you going outside, you're going to the Mile High City. The Broncos have 2 amazing cornerbacks. Patrick Surtain obviously is great. He'll be probably on both Pickens and CD. CD plays more in the slot than Pickens does. So Pickens is not going to be able to avoid Surtain and Riley Moss as much. Riley Moss is allowing the worst completion percentage of any cornerback right now. And so Pickens, he's fantastic. He's going to make catches that are highlight reel and is probably going to be fine. Like you're not benching Pickens, but I think he puts up a little bit of a dud. Dart, I think the Eagles are going to really have a chip on their shoulder and want to just destroy the Giants after what happened a couple weeks ago. I think Dart has a bad performance. I think this is Brian's 3rd week in a row where he has single-digit QB performances. And then Devontae Smith, I am worried that they're going to really try to get the run game going, that Saquon's going to have a good week. I think Dallas Goedert has a good week. Maybe even A.J. Brown, but I think Devonta Smith it struggles a little bit this week. He's had a good run. This is going to be a down week for him. T. Higgins has a great matchup. There's a stat out there that the second wide receiver who plays against the Jets just goes off. Last week, that was Xavier Legette. And that's because Tet McMillan was going against Sauce Gardner. Sauce Gardner has been fantastic. In theory, he will shadow Jamar Chase. Chase is fantastic and will be fine, but there's a little bit of a downgrade there. Where opposite him is T. Higgins, and the cornerback 2 for the Jets is just not close to being as good as Sauce Gardner. Tez Johnson, he just looks really good. He looks like a real wide receiver with all the injuries at Tampa Bay. I think he has a really good week. I think the offense is really going to run through White, Emeka Egbuka, Tez Johnson, and maybe even Cade Otton. I think all 4 of them could have a good game. Rome Odunze is, I think, going to bounce back. The Ravens defense is getting healthier. I think they'll be better. But I'm hoping with Lamar back, I think this could be a really high-scoring game. So I think Rome Odunze bounces back after a little bit of a dud last week. And then I think Dalton Schultz has a big week. I think Nico Collins is going to be out. I think, like we saw when Collins went out on Monday, Schultz got 10 targets, a bunch of catches. He's going to have a great week. And then my free agent pick is Rashard Smith, the Chiefs' third-string running back, maybe second string if Hunt is still hurt. I think he has a good game because the Chiefs go up. He got a lot of garbage time carries. He had 14 carries last week. So I think he gets a lot of garbage time. I also, he has 5 targets in all of the last few games. So I think at minimum, he's going to be getting a handful of yards, a handful of catches. That goes a long way, even in half-point PPR. Monday Night Football, we've got the Chiefs and Commanders. The Commanders have a lot of primetime games this year, which is exciting because I get to watch them. It's not exciting because we're never very good on primetime. JCM, I think, is going to struggle this week. I'd be worried about starting him. I might even start Rashard Smith over Bill Krosky-Merritt. That's probably a hot take, but I think Rashard Smith scores more points than JCM does this week. Looks like we'll get McLaurin and Debo back. I'm not 100% sure. I'm hoping that if that's true, Ertz is just going to get a lot of short targets. I'm looking for a lot of catches from Ertz as McBride is on bye. My hot take is that Isaiah is going to get chopped this week. I think part of it, I had this before Jordan Mason's 1.1. Now I feel even better about this. Like I said, George Pickens, I think he's going to struggle a little bit. I think JCM struggles Monday night. He has Pickens and Lamb, so he's one where if the game in Denver is low scoring, he's going to really struggle. He also has Nico Collins, who is probably not playing, so he's going to have to pick up someone on waivers. He's going to have to slide someone to the injured reserve, pick up someone on waivers, and he's also starting Joe Flacco, who, has some juice left in him for sure. Put up 26 points last week. Quinshon Judkins plays the Patriots, and they have not allowed anyone to rush for more than 50-something yards. Quinshon Judkins does not catch passes. He, in the last 3 weeks, has caught 3 passes. He didn't catch anything last week. So if it's just rushing yards and he doesn't fall into the end zone, I think this is going to be a real tough week for Isaiah. Well, good luck out there, and hopefully see you all next week.